Trying to see if anybody is on.
Yes, welcome. Thanks for joining. We're going to start in just a minute.
Awesome.
Just before we get started, why don't you type in the chat window where you are joining from this evening?
That would be awesome. Let's see what our group is. Alicia and Ann and Beth and Diane and John and Juan and Leila, Laura, Rhonda, Scott, Ray, Tracy. Yeah. Ooh, Jacksonville, Newport Beach. Can we come? Old Town, Florida. Awesome. Los Angeles. Boy, Jacksonville again. That's hot. Seattle. Hope no rain. Great place. I like Seattle a lot. We'll get going, and we're coming up on 6:59. We'll get going in another few minutes. But again, if you're late joining us, if you could pop up in the chat room, where are you from? Old Town, Florida. Scott, I have no idea where Old Town, Florida is. What's that near? It's a beautiful sunny day in Seattle. Okay, another Virginia Beach. And a bunch are now starting to join. St. Augustine, awesome place. I love visiting there, especially this time of year. At Flagler College and University, I guess. A bunch of people still coming on. What do we have? We've got 21. And I'm going to give it, I think I'll give it another minute or two. That sound right, Barry?
Yeah, I think if we could maybe go to 7:01 and then get started. Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to do that. Because those who show up on time should get rewarded for showing up. And I'm really glad you all joined us. If you haven't mentioned where you're from, that would be good. So I bet St. Augustine is all lit up. Holiday lights and things everywhere. And I'm really glad you all joined. We're going to have fun tonight. I'm going to push you hard tonight. We're going to go rapid speed tonight. But if I go too fast, you slow me down. All right? If I go too fast, slow me down, because we got a lot to cover. We're going to try to help you out so that you're already in business. It's going to be very helpful to you. And if you're thinking of starting a business, hopefully you'll pick up a lot of things tonight that'll be a big help to you. Just moved from Miami and I'm in Atlanta. That's a big move. Okay, Barry, we're at 7:01. Should we get started? What do you think?
I think we should.
All right. Well, tonight, thank you. And we're going to talk about building your brand. It has several connotations, and we'll get into that. And I'm going to share with you some techniques not often taught, but used in world-class companies on Wall Street. The same concepts can be used on Main Street. All right. And we're going to get into some of the what's and how's and whatever. So before I do that, a little bit about SCORE. If you're not a member or using as a mentor, we help clients. Help them start, help them grow, we help them achieve their goals. It's personal. We have volunteer experts like Barry and I who are business advisors to mentor you. We have a lot of resources, including workshops like this, but templates and tools and all sorts of things. So if you check us out at, score.org, you can get a mentor, you can take workshops, you can browse the library. It's a great resource. Quick little bit about me. I'm committed to helping entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. All right. I'm currently also a full-time professor, MBA program, and I teach a capstone, which means all project areas. My primary career was global responsibilities at Johnson & Johnson in healthcare. Then I was at Armstrong World Industries in building products and Standard Industries, which is one of the largest building products companies in the world. And I've also been involved in starting a bunch of very successful entrepreneur ventures, and they've been a lot of fun and active in a lot of philanthropies, including spending 4 years over in Africa building orphanages and schools. So I want to get an agreement out of you today, all right? If it makes sense. Will today be successful for you? For you. If you understand why, great strategic branding can be your best protection, frankly, to prevent business failure. And one of your most effective assets, create success. And to get there, the insights you'll gain is one, why it's critically important, branding, why it's a foundation to achieve world-class results. Two is how perception is going to shape your reality. Because branding builds people's opinions, not facts, opinions. Values build trust. So beginning on the inside, where it's fake on the outside, you got to define yourself. Don't let competition define you, but it drives awesome results. Team effectiveness, client loyalty, and profit growth. If we can accomplish that tonight, share with me quickly in the chat room. Would that make today successful for you? Do we agree on that? Awesome. Well, let's start with you. You're the brand, and you can't move up if you don't stand out. And branding, at the end of the day, it's what people perceive. It's not what you want. It's not what you dictate. It's what they perceive. And it comes from several places. It comes from your logo, which creates and reminds them of stuff, but it comes from a vast amount of opinions and actions and things that they come across. Colors affect it. Sound affects it. Other experiences affect it. This is just one part branding. So at the end of the day, though, in business, for most businesses, if you have trust as an asset, you're 70% of the way towards success. And building a foundation of branding is key to trust. So as an example is Stephen Covey, when the trust account is high, your asset, communications becomes easy, instant, and effective. The implication is branding helps create great relationships. Two, trust is the lubrication that makes it possible for organizations to work. So it's both an internal thing and an external thing. So the implication is you need branding for all constituencies. You need it with your investors. You need it with your suppliers. You need it with your employees. You need it in the whole value chain and the end user. So it's holistic. And the reality is, people don't listen closely to what you have to say. It's minimal until they first figure out, are they going to trust you, right? And, that's trust is introduced and it's built and hopefully maintained. I would argue that the recipe at the core for trust is that you demonstrate to all constituencies. If you got investors, if you got employees, suppliers, value chain, but especially your end user, trust equals an equation of care and respect. When you demonstrate care and respect consistently and memorably, you generally gain trust. And with trust, you can get action. With trust, people are more likely to listen. They're more likely to agree. They're more likely to see that you're the best of the other options available to them. Because how do people make decisions? How do they take action? The driver is their opinion. What's in it for me? What's the experience that you can help me avoid or gain? I'll get more into that in a little bit. So how's this search for trust happen? Well, it's very situational, right? It ties to what's the experience that you're hoping to have or avoid. So perceptions could be a wide range of things. You want to think about which perception might be on this list. It might be not on this list, but when they think of your brand, generally it comes down to one or two or three thoughts, opinions. How do they think about it? You want to prioritize. What do they hope they take away? What do they hope they'll feel? What do they hope their opinion and perceptions will be? So, for example, try to match them up. You know, the comedy club, probably you want that branding to feel fun. The color's fun. The sounds are fun. The environment's fun. When you answer the phone, it's fun. When they see anything in the walls or anything or letters, it's fun. An example would be at a nursery school. Well, a lot of things you could choose from. One might be, boy, you just demonstrate caring. You know, so there's pictures and hugs and activity and just things going on. Your travel agent, how would you demonstrate highly organized? You know, it can be the type style you pick. It can be the way the page is laid out. It can be how easy it is to follow your story. If it's fast food, you want sounds and thoughts and type styles and colors that scream, we're quick. Going to heart surgery, man, you want it to come across as the most professional expert possible. If it's clergy discreet, does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? And by the way, I would put it in recording mode, but when we tried it in the test, it went to a different screen and well, actually, maybe I can do it.
Yeah, it is being recorded, but when we tried to use the presentation mode, it showed two screens, the slide and the speaker notes, and it's made it smaller.
I'm going to try one more thing, Barry. If it works. No, that didn't work. No, I got to go back. I apologize.
What about that display settings at the bottom? Does that, no, that,
yeah. I can look at that quick. No, I'm afraid to mess with it more. I might mess something else up. So I apologize, everybody. But these slides are all available to you. You just email me, which I'll have it at the end. I'll email you everything. Barry's also recording it, so you'll have that available as well. All right. Does this make sense, though? Are you seeing that? Yeah, it's perceptions. It's not facts. It's what drives people. And you might want to look at what's the mirror test, right? It's not what you think you see. I mean, when I look in the mirror, man, I see a handsome whatever, but unfortunately, that's not what everybody else sees. What do they see? What are the implications? What they see affects trust. You demonstrate caring and respect. It affects, they feel appreciated. It affects if what you're doing comes across as important. It affects if it's an enjoyable experience for them, whether they're even comfortable. What's that mirror test? They perceive. And unfortunate, what's common? Well, on the left is what others see. On the right, it might be the view of ourselves. One time in my career, I was assigned I had an assignment. It was actually with corporate Eckerd Drug, and but it was a specialty division. It supplied nursing homes and prisons and psychiatric hospitals with all their pharmaceuticals and supplies. I remember the first day on the, first I got 250 salespeople, and they're all pharmacists. And the first day of training, we practiced with them talking, showing teeth. It is amazing. But when you think of, say, famous presidents of the United States, often you picture teeth. Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, Clinton, Obama. Picture teeth. Teeth, seeing teeth comes across as warm, friendly, someone they can trust. Try it. Because it has implications. That smile affects trust. It affects whether they feel appreciated, how important they feel. It's enjoyable if it's comfortable. So branding is what they perceive. And reality is they're like branding and trust are, they're constantly going up and down. It's constantly moving. I look at it this way. Everything that the customer sees and experiences with your company, whether it's an ad, a phone call, literature, letter, talking to anybody, the product, how the stickers, everything affects their perception going up and down. And try to picture that they're looking at a window into your business and you're unaware the client's appearing in. What do you think they're seeing? Every contact they have in their journey is going to influence their perceptions of you in your company and are compared to their other options. Ask yourself, what are they experiencing on the incoming call? What are they experiencing when they see emails? What are they experiencing in perception with literature and instructions and all that? They all have implications on trust, your most important asset, feeling appreciated, which is key, the customer actually taking action, feeling important and enjoyable and comfortable in the decision they're going to make, because everybody's got other options. Investors have other options if you're looking for investors. Employees have other options if you're looking for employees. Customers have other options. They all have other options than you. And everything affects it. Let me give you an example. That's not what I wanted. Okay, that's not good. I wanted to bring up YouTube and that didn't work. So I'm going to go past this. But the point is, I had sound. There it is. So an example, you get to recognize sounds. I had some others here, Fox, Paramount Pictures, different things. The point is, sounds have a big effect, right? And that's one, so what company? What are you trying to convey? Colors affect that. Type styles affect that. Figure out for your company, what is its personality? What is it that you hope their takeaway is that's going to reinforce keywords, the experiences that they're looking to avoid or gain? What about trust? Well, you know it. If you don't earn trust, people don't listen. That shapes their reality. Communication and trust generates a relationship that will last a lifetime. And it's important, again, every constituency, investors, employees, customers, value chain, everyone you deal with, comes down to trust. Because they all have other options in how they may treat you. Let's go back and want to sort of plant some key concepts around this. Something maybe a lot of us can relate to a little bit. I want you to think back. Early dating. In high school, maybe college, maybe right out of high school and in work. What lessons did we learn? Can you tell me if this is true? What was the hardest part about getting a date? It was the hardest part. For most of us, it was the fear failure, right? Fear of asking, which gets to, if we fail, it's going to be a horrible experience. Now, here's a lesson that the world class on Wall Street know, most don't realize. And Stanford University did it actually statistically. And here's a statistic. We are wired, most individuals, to avoid risk and place more value on avoiding an experience we don't want versus an experience that we do want. And the mathematical equation is experience we do want has to be 2.1 times the value to be equal, neutral to the experience we don't want. It's a key concept. It's one of the reasons world-class companies, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Microsoft, one of the things you don't find in a lot of books, but one thing you'll notice almost every one of them does. They start off first helping you understand the risks that you're taking and how they can reduce them. And then the value, the experience they bring, and why it's going to be awesome. If you watch them, when I was first in my career and I was competing with Procter & Gamble, I watched over 2,000 Procter & Gamble ads to try to figure out their recipe. And sometimes in a culture, they don't even realize they got a recipe. It's just what they always do. In almost every Procter & Gamble ad, the biggest advertisers in the world, generally start out with an emotional, is this an experience you want to really have or avoid? You can reduce that. Give you an example. Cascade dishwashing detergent starts off beautiful tables. Someone put a lot of work into it, emotional. And that obnoxious person picks up a glass and says, oh my gosh, look at the spots. Well, we've got this detergent that, it's got this special, and they go on. Think of Johnson & Johnson. There's gazillions of dollars spent telling you how much longer they last and how much stronger they are than Tylenol. Tylenol's basic campaign for 50 years. And I know because I worked on it years ago. Most people, hospitals, when they're worried about pain relief, they choose Tylenol. Why would you trust your family's health? Anybody else? So what's the next lesson we learned in high school about dating? You talk about yourself, who cares? I can remember the whole thing, tell my best friend to tell her best friend that, this stuff about me. And at the time, it was sort of cool. I was the studio drummer at age 15, 16, 17 for Ted Nugent, right? This was cool. It didn't do any good. Then that eureka moment, this key in business, I realized was what she thought about me had more to do with how she felt about herself when she was with me. This is true of how we're wired. What the other person thinks about you and your company has a lot to do with how they feel about themselves when they're with you or buying from your company. And that's when it occurred to me. The key, the more she talked, the more she liked me. Not being a rocket scientist, but not the dumbest guy in the world, I finally figured out my ability to ask questions that demonstrated I really cared and respected her, the more she liked me. Which is amazing because think of all the training that's done on how to tell people stuff we learned in high school. The quality of our questions with investors, with employees, with customers, the quality of our questions has more to do with building trust and them becoming loyal in relationships with us than how well we tell stuff. So you got to ID what's important. What's important to most people? Well, it comes from insight. And here's the key to insight. Insight comes from cause and effect. Cause and effect. There's only 5 causes of anything good or bad to happen in business and in life. Who did it? How it was done, when it was done, where it was done, who, what, when, where, how. And how important is it? It's the answer to why. Now, here's a little thing I'd like you to try when you go home, because if my hypothesis holds up for you, it's going to be life-changing for you. Here's the hypothesis. I want you to eavesdrop on conversations after this session. For the next week, I want you to eavesdrop. Here's my hypothesis. You're going to find something about human behavior going to shock you. You're going to hear people talk about who did something, who, what happened, when it happened, where it happened, how it happened. You'll hardly ever hear the why. Who the heck knows why? You'll hardly ever hear the why. Insight comes from why. And if you ever had a young child, you know that when you tell them what to do and not why, your chances of them doing it go way down. Test that hypothesis. It's life-changing, because once you figure out it's not natural to explain why, and why affects trust, key to branding, and why is the key to insight, because without why, it's just assumptions. It's critical to what you're doing. It's critical to branding. It's critical success. And we're not wired for it. Try it. All right. So what else do we learn early in dating, right? So learn, avoiding asking. So what does that mean? Your obstacle to success is fear. Your obstacle to success is employees feeling fear because they know you feel fear. So a key to leadership is helping your constituencies, investors, employees, customers, whatever, overcome their fear of working and supporting you. Two, talking about yourself, who cares? Bragging reduces trust versus solutions. What does that mean? I be like a doctor, not like what you think salespeople do. What does a doctor do? They bombard you with questions to find either a problem or a potential risk that you may have, and then educate you on how to avoid and gain it. They don't start off assuming, oh, I diagnosed you and this is your situation. No, the dialogue. 3, asking, including why, and taking notes of what they say, because trust equals care and respect. And here's the interesting thing about questions. When you first ask a question, we are wired to only give back facts. If you follow up the questions, here's the gem. When people run out of facts, they share the emotional experience they're trying to avoid or gain. And that's the goal. That's what drives most decisions, most behavior. The emotional experience that they're trying to avoid or gain, summed up from the different facts and therefore opinions they form. You got to identify what's important. Who, what, when, where, and how. Prioritize it on the why. And the key to this is every time you hear the word problem, change it and say it as a situation. And here's why. Problem assumes what caused it. You define it as a situation, you might see more potential causes from a who, a what, a when, a where, or how, or some combination. You're more likely to end up with a better solution. How? Prioritized by the answer to why. And what's the key to healthy relationships? What causes action? It's the experience, the what's in it for me, that drives most people's decisions. And I can show you all sorts of research that says at the end of the day, people shape their opinions on 2 or 3 to take action. They summarize it all up, like running a funnel with all this information. They boil it down to the essence. Facts only support those opinions. So the question is, what did they hear? Give me some quick feedback. Is this helpful so far? Getting some value out of this? You can comment in the chat room. Okay, good, 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 good. Absolutely, I'll keep going. So, let's just go, because this is all part of branding. So here's a model that I use, right? You won't find it anywhere because I haven't published a book yet. But this is an integral to my career at Johnson & Johnson and Armstrong and Ecken, and helping build standard brands, which I took from 600 million to 6 billion. This was the core. Core I called my why theory. Trust is your most important asset. What's the recipe? Care and respect. What are the key ingredients in that recipe? Make sure you do what we don't naturally do. Explain why. Anytime you share a who, what, when, where, how, cause of anything good or bad, make sure they don't just assume, they understand the insight. 2, use more questions than telling. Some of the best, you can do anything. You can do almost anything through a question. You can suggest, you can even direct, you can uncover stuff. But when you do, here's the key, when you do it through a question, they still own it. When you tell people stuff, you own it. Really key with employees. I see people, this is what I want you to do. I want you to do this and this and this and this. You accomplish the same thing through questions. Why do you think we might want to do it this way? How do you think this might affect the customer? You do it through questions. They still own it. And by the way, Johnson & Johnson, who was grounds for being fired if you didn't take good notes. Here's why. Think of what the other person might think the reason is you didn't take notes. Might not be reality, what they think it might be. You didn't care. It wasn't important. You just wasted my time. There's no way it's going to happen. None of the reasons that they might perceive you didn't take notes, none of them helps you on trust. All right, what's the second part? The second part's the analysis, first by you, and then the team around you. Think chess, communicate checkers. Your job, think all the complexity of all the things that can happen. But don't bog that down for the people you're sharing it with. Keep it simple. Share checkers, share the gold, the really important stuff. Avoid what most people do is share the vampires. And what's a vampire? It's information that happens to be accurate, but it sucks the blood out of the most important stuff. And therefore, your most important stuff gets lost. And what drives action? It's the experience someone avoids or gains. It's the what's in it for me. I'm going to give you an example. A ton of people do sales training. And in sales training, if you ever took it, they talk about sell the features and the benefits, right? And being, the northerner that I grew up, way back, I used to say that, I want to make sure I understand this. I have a new shampoo. It's got these special ingredients. It's going to make your hair really shiny. Which is the feature and what's the benefit? And every sales trainer has told me, well, the feature is the special ingredients and the benefit's the shiny hair. I said, well, I'm a little confused still because I was talking to my wife and I had this other shampoo. It's got these special ingredients, your hair really shiny. And as a result, when we go out Saturday night, you're going to feel so confident and beautiful. Which one's she going to buy? Here's a key point. The more we know about our product, our comfort zone is selling, communicating shiny hair. But it's not what people with other options are making decisions on. They're making it on what's the experience as a result of what you're going to do. Real care for that, because that's the big difference between good and great companies and success. Warren Buffett agrees with all this. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you might do some things differently. So what does that mean? Branding is very strategic, no matter how big you are. At Johnson & Johnson, the chairman of the board, multi-billion-dollar company, is focused on branding all the time. One of your biggest assets. Henry Ford also agrees. You can't build a reputation on what you're telling people you're going to do in the future. The implication is truth is based on their experiences now in everything that affects them and that they see. By the way, trust tends to come more through what people see, and facts tend to come more through the ears. When I say see, it doesn't even necessarily mean through the eyes. It means the brain. So for like when you use an analogy, which pictures a situation, most trust comes from what you can picture the experience in your mind. Most facts come through the ears to support that. Bezos agrees. A brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You earn a reputation by trying to do the hard things well. And what's the implication? You know, I think it's discipline. My definition of discipline is doing the things you don't want to do, doing them anyway. We all have full days. We all have things we don't want to do. And like a sponge, we can easily fill a day. But what takes good to great? It's doing the things you don't want to do and doing them anyway. It's things like in sales, practicing talking to a customer, role playing, which people hate to do, so they don't do it. It means documenting processes. And anytime something doesn't go according to our process, ask, what happened? Do we need to change the process? Or do we need to educate somebody? Howard Schultz, Starbucks agrees. Well, he did agree. People believe they share values with a company. They'll stay loyal to the brand. Now, there have been some employee issues there, but on the outside, they've maintained it. But they've lost this a little bit. From the client's perspective, they've still maintained it. I still can't believe we spend $4, $5, $6, $7 for a cup of coffee. Steve Forbes agrees. Your brand is the single most important investment you can make in your business. Implication, it's a core asset. Zig Ziglar. People like you to listen to you. We tend to like people that we trust. If they trust you, they'll do business with you. Implication, it's relationships. And by the way, not just with the end customer. Your employees reflect you. Emails reflect your company. That incoming phone call reflects your company. You guys care. One of my favorites is for Richard Branson. Branding demands commitment. And commitment demands continual reinvention. I call it running scared. No matter how successful you are, run scared. And reinvention means imagination. If you're constantly changing, you're going to run over. And here's the weird thing, going back to the why theory. We are wired as people to say, we love change and everyone else should change. We're also wired to view actual change, avoid it. Because anytime you change involves risk, which is why great leaders help people overcome the fear of change. And change is the difference between good and great, meaning great. And a key lesson in that, probably met a lot of people in your life who will take the complex and try to make it as complex as they can. They think it makes them sound smarter. And I remember watching people like at Johnson & Johnson, the chairman of the board, and people like that. And here's what I noticed. The best leaders I saw, I had seen them think complex, but they made the complex simple. And value comes from making the complex simple. As people make decisions, at the end of the day, on a few simple things. So, where does this take us? I'm going to share some of my favorite recipes. I know it's a short event. I'm going to try to share with you some of my favorite recipes in my branding box. Because I've gotten to do this a lot in my career, and I love giving back the value to people like you and help you build value yourself. So let's get into this branding box and see some of Dave's tools. First, what's branding and how's that different than marketing? To try to make the complex simple, you can't do one well without the other done well. So branding is about the drivers of perceptions, your messages, your logo, your elevator pitch, your beliefs, your foundations, what they expect the experience. It's the things that affect their perceptions. And marketing is where they become engaged and those perceptions are formed. Value is why would they choose us versus their other options? And how are we going to develop and deliver something that's unique? Because if we're not unique, we're a commodity. And if we're a commodity, we're competing on price. And while it can happen, it's very difficult to have a sustainable business competing on price. And one of the things you want to try, I'm going to give you an example. I remember years ago, a friend asked me to go down. It was a good size accounting firm, CPA firm, and happened to be in Phoenix. And they had about 45 professional CPAs, a lot for that kind of firm. It's not one of the big ones, but big for a regional. And they asked me to come down and talk about sales and marketing, what they were doing, and they were starting to lose some market share. I walked in, I said, well, what are you all selling? I said, well, we do audits, we do payroll, we help put together bank presentations, we review numbers. I mean, we help the clients in all these different ways. I said, oh, I think I know the problem. You go, what? Well, that's not what your customer's buying. And they want to be fired at that point, kick him out of this seminar room. I said, no, I bought accounting services. Let me tell you what I've looked for. I looked for an accountant who's going to help me make more money and keep more of the money I made. And they happen to do that through those other things they do and everybody else does. Oh, wow, okay, get that. And then I said, so the way people make decisions from their opinions and where they engaged with you, they form opinions, trust, insight, but at the end of the day, their perception, what's in it for me, the experience I'm going to avoid or gain. And what I shared with them is the way the brain works, people rule you out before they rule you in. Think about that for a second. It's really important. People rule you out before they rule you in. It's more efficient. So for example, if you had a pile of resumes, you don't read every resume. You take the pile and you quickly sort out the ones that don't look like on a scan, they're worth the time, and you narrow it down to 10 and you read the 10. So what are you looking for? Are they acceptable? If it's resumes, the type of person we're looking for, with the cognitive skills we're looking for, and have the experience that we're looking for. We're sorting. So people rule you out before they rule you in. So you first have to be acceptable. No different than relationships. We learned this in high school and when we're young. And then what sets you apart is being special. Special is over and above what they expect, something they wouldn't expect. So again, I'll use that same accounting group. It's a Dave, you don't understand. We all do the same thing. There is nothing that can separate us as different. I said, well, let's test that. And thank God this worked, because in hindsight, it was terribly risky. It happened to work. I said, we had a phone in the middle of the room. I said, who's the largest, most prestigious bank in Phoenix? And they chose the bank. I said, call that number. Call the number. Receptionist answered. Can you show me the name of the senior vice president that all the loan officers report to? Yeah, sure. Can you please transfer them? Transferred me. Happened to get the person. I said, hello, my name's Dave Harrison, and I'm working with this accounting firm. And, one of the things we noticed going through this stuff is there's a lot of things that loan officers might not know to look for in the tax code and how the companies they're looking to make loans with or have loans out with that it's very easy to make mistakes that can cost them either A, they can add value for the client, or B, loan may be riskier than they realize. I said, oh, that makes sense. I said, well, I'm with this accounting firm, very big one. Would you like us to come in and run a 3-hour workshop on the most common mistakes loan officers make related to the tax code in terms of A, potential for bad loans, or B, being able to approve the loans and develop better relationship with their clients? And he said, well, how much is that going to cost me? It's not going to cost you anything. Everyone's looking at me. So why are we doing this? Well, we went and called on a customer. You know, we're an accounting firm. Other accounting firms are going to tell you the same thing, but the reason people choose us, we help customers make more money and keep more money than they make. In fact, we do all the training for the loan officers at this bank on the most common mistakes people make that cause them not to make more money or keep more money than made. Immediately separated them. You see the point? There's always a way to differentiate. So what's the customer's journey? All right. What's an employee's journey? Anybody that's got another option, what's their journey? Primary foundation, do they trust you? Are you acceptable? Are you delivering what they expect? Are you delivering what they need and want? Have they ruled out others and then ruled you in? And that's that first stage. It's a second stage. When you get past trust, now the key is developing interest. And what creates interest after you're acceptable? Sharing what they didn't expect. Sharing a surprise, that creates interest. And that interest, that insight, when it's a difference versus their other options, it's a little unique. And that's may A, eliminate a problem or reduce a risk that exists better than their other options and generate a gain. Build more trust relative to other options. And then what drives the actual action of buying? The communication of why now? Here's our promise. Here's our, and that's a typo, guys. Here's our next steps. I'm going to give you a quick example. Years ago, I'm presenting to the board of directors the next day, in a couple of days, an acquisition was about $10 million. We normally did much bigger ones, about $10 million. There was a lot of risk to it, much more than we normally did. I thought the upside was huge. And there was one person on the board that was, man, this was Mr. Negative, always negative. I called him up I said, the night before the board meeting, can I take you out to dinner? He goes, sure. We went out to dinner. And we're talking. I finally asked him the question. I said, I know you've done really well, but if all of a sudden you won a lottery ticket and you had an extra $1 million, and your wife said, look, you've worked so hard. Take that $1 million and buy whatever you've always wanted. What would you buy? And he goes, oh, Bertram. I go, what's a Bertram? Oh, Dave, it's one of the best fishing boats. And for the next hour and a half, he's telling me all about Bertrams and fishing and on and on and on and on. Next morning, start out the board meeting. I go, I'm going to tell you up front, I'm recommending this acquisition. It has more risk than I normally would recommend to this board. But I think the upside well overcomes that risk. And then I looked at this gentleman right in the eye and I said, and if I'm right, a year from now, you and I are going fishing in your Bertram. Well, he was a pussycat the rest of the whole meeting. Everyone else wants to know what a Bertram was. See what I mean? Drive action, trust, relationships, what they picture. Let's take that and show it applied. How I actually applied it in my career, right? Acceptable, insight, what's in it for me? So I used to do things. I helped invent Reach toothbrush. So what makes a toothbrush acceptable? You want healthy gums and remove debris and have clean teeth. Great. We can do that. What will grab their interest? A real surprise. Most cavities are on the back teeth. So what's our difference? Well, we got these bi-level bristles that remove the debris and clean and leave your gums healthy. But it's even angled like a dental instrument to prevent cavities on those really hard to reach back teeth. Notice? Acceptable? High interest? Difference that's important. And try it now. $1 instant savings coupon. And we went from, at that time, when we launched it, toothbrushes were 4 for $1. And we were getting $1.25 each. Plus, made it in Puerto Rico and negotiated a deal with the government, Puerto Rico and US. We didn't have to pay taxes on it for 10 years. Another example with one of my clients. Value messaging. They're having trouble getting employees. You've probably heard that. Pretty difficult. A lot of roofs out there. Trouble getting employees. What's acceptable? What's interest? What's different? What's action? So what's acceptable? Well, workers on roofs want steady work, hopefully some overtime. And they want health benefits ideally in a safe work environment. Well, we develop interest. Well, you know, roofers, when it rains, they don't have work. With bad weather, they don't have work. We'll grab their interest. Hey, you know what? When it rains, come to work anyway. What's different? Well, our company, primarily a roofing company, but we also restore old buildings, real estate, real old ones. So on days that we have bad weather, we get indoor work for you. You're gonna learn some new skills. We're gonna pay you 2/3 of what you were making, but you're working. So apply now and we get a $200 signing bonus and a free physical. Man, we had roofers coming out of the woodwork when everyone else is dying to get people. Always a way, creating a difference that has value. Here's an example, one of my clients in SCORE. They were in a business, they had a machine that did backing on quilts. People didn't want to go through the backing on quilts. And it wasn't that profitable business. That was a lot of equipment. So we created a whole new business. We said, well, we can make the backing, and if you can see, that's the rim. We said, okay, what if we put into that, it looked like a quilt, but it was like, here's a birth, or here's a wedding, or here's whatever, and it's a quilt. And it's value and quality. So it's an heirloom gift. It's affordable, personalized quilts for weddings, births, anniversaries. And it took off. Well, this comes down to we need an elevator pitch. Again, give me some feedback. How are we doing? Too quick? Too slow? Just right? And are you finding value in what we're doing? Thank you. Okay. Awesome. Well, we're going to now switch it and try to give you some tools. And Michael, at the end, you email me as soon as I'm off this call. I'm sending you the PowerPoints. Anybody. And my email, I'll give it to you quick now, but it'll be at the end too. It's David.Harrison at, Barry. What's after that?
At scorevolunteer.org.
Thank you. Oh my God, that's embarrassing. Anyway, as about the elevator pitch was a key part that goes within branding, right? Because without it, branding's sort of naked, right? So how do I start off? What are their expectations to be acceptable option? 2, what's the unexpected, valuable difference? 3, what's the essence here, the most important? 4, I draft it and I test it. I do that over and over and over again until I get it refined that it's really working, right? Takes multiple iterations of looking at that funnel to get it right. But once it's complete, everybody, your family members, any employees, ideally any suppliers, your best customers, try to get them to know it too. And they'll become your army out there. So let's look at applying that. So you can apply it to your business. So I'm going to give you an example. When I did for a friend who has a consulting business and doing fine, wasn't generating what he wants. So introduction. Hi, I'm Greg Hain with the Hain Coaching Group. We create peer groups of non-competing contractors from around the country. Okay, know what he does. What's expected? Well, contractor peer groups meet times a year and collaborate, solving problems in a rigorous, supportive, and discreet environment. We follow up with monthly coaching to ensure clients stay laser focused and implement their commitments, not just talk about them. Right? What's unexpected? Well, there's no risk. If a client's investment does not quickly pay for itself and bring enormous value, we don't want their money. We'll return the entire membership fee gracefully. What's the solution? We promise you're going to get great proven ideas and implementation support that will help you and your team achieve your dreams. The action? Hey, we have a new peer group, fantastic owners like you starting in 3 months. You might be a great fit, but don't wait to join until you feel, comfortable. I don't want you to join, but what next steps do you suggest? It's fine. And he's got this down. And he's very comfortable. And he can share it elsewhere. And a lot of the people already in peer groups know this story and they share it elsewhere. He's growing. Let me give you an example of one of my SCORE clients who participated in one of my events 4 months ago. And we rebuilt his business. What does he do? Well, before I couldn't quite tell what he does. Now, clear. He provides meat processing solutions, fast, affordable, and quality. Buys the equipment, including parts used and new. In the back of his business card, which I strongly suggest you do, what's our promise? Well, the experience that people buying equipment for, what do they really want? I don't want downtime. If I don't have as much downtime, it increases my profits. So how does this solve your pain? Notice these are all outcome-oriented. Going to help you build sales. That client value and how it's packaged to differentiate your packages. We're going to, keep your old machines running when you can't get the parts. We're going to help you build capacity. If you can't afford new equipment, we'll find you used equipment. We're going to help you be more productive. Customized solutions. They got it. The business card. They always say we're going to build out the story, but notice it's all the experience helping avoid a game. We said, okay, what's the introduction? Well, here's who we are. We're meat processing solutions, new equipment, used equipment, replacement parts, faster, lower cost, more options. Okay, I get your introduction. What's expected? Well, our credentials. We've served a lot of clients in multiple countries and we've done a lot of business. And here's what some of our clients say. Oh, what's unexpected? Well, you need manufacturer options. We can get any brand. The local distributor, probably just a few options. Replacement parts, we can get generics, we can get OEM. Typical distributors, just the parts that fit the machines, they sell that brand. Sources, we got international sources. Probably they only have local. And the knowledge, we've got this global expertise. They got a salesperson to take orders based on what they sell. We're different. And then we said, what's the solution? And experience. Well, what are the 4 major disasters in your life if you're in the meatpacking business? We solve that pain. 1, you need to add a client, value and differentiate. All right, we got meat packaging that lasts longer, so there's less waste, and meat packaging that looks better, so it's better margins. 2, you don't have the parts to keep the old machine operating. We can do that. We got contacts around the world. We'll get you. Notice it's all experience oriented. And we just turned it into a 2-page brochure, replacing a 20-page brochure, which frankly, you couldn't tell what he did. Next key piece. Beliefs. And the beliefs come from the mission, vision, your values and strategy. The it drives the brand. Brand drives perception. So what's required? Is what you're sharing compelling? Is it understood? Is understood well enough that people can communicate it easily? What do those mean? Mission is why we exist. And I look at that as, what's your promise to employees and to people outside your company? What's your promise? What's your vision? What do you want to be? People want to feel part of something special. Reality, that's the future foundation we're looking to get to. What are your values? This is what we believe. These are actions, behaviors that we commit to, that drive our culture. What's our strategy? Why are we a better option than your other options? You got to develop it, believe it. You got to live it, be accountable to it. You got to check it, which means measuring and monitoring, you're living up to it. You got to improve it, constantly improving. You got to discuss it. So it's not just a slogan, it's a commitment. You got to reinforce it by demonstrating examples of other people doing it. You got to guide with it in every interaction decision. Use the core so they understand it in perspective, the details of what we're doing, and you got to flaunt it. You have pride in it. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples from my career where this was the case. So there's a company called GAF. And before branding, this was back in 1996, there was no difference in roofing shingles, basically. It was a commodity, and it was miserable. Internally, for 10 years, the company had horrible financials. They had huge employee turnover, next to no pride, and the attitude was, we make and sell roofs. And if you looked at the mission, the vision, values, and strategies, which weren't necessarily written down, but why do we exist? Make money. What do we want to be? Profitable. What do we believe? We make it and we sell it. And why us? Because we're available at a great price. Well, no wonder. That's what they were. Wasn't going to work. So for 10 years, we were the cheap pricing product. You only bought us when we were on sale. We had a market share of only 14%. The attitude of customers was, I might buy if it's on sale. And what was the business model? Well, if we load the distributor with a great price and bagels and donuts and entertain them, they'll bring in our product. And the distributor will push to the contractor if it's a low price and they have food and entertain them. And the contractor sells to the client thinking all customers buy on price, and we're all commodity. We're all the same. We're all the same. The only mistake a customer can make in their mind is pay too much, which drives pricing even further down. So what did we do with branding? Our total difference means superior value and life that will great for all of us. And internally, we developed awesome financials, super low turnover. In fact, most of the people I hired, and I've been gone 12 years, most of the people I hired are still there. We got great compensation because we're making a lot of money and all sorts of pride. What's the attitude? We help other people achieve what they want. And externally, we sell at a premium, but it's worth it. People buy a lot, they're loyal. And we went from number 5 in the world with only a 14% share. We're number 1 in the world. What's the attitude? We help you succeed. So specifically, what did that mean? Well, with my team, I changed the mission statement. Created a mission statement. We assure property owners and specifiers their best and safest choice. Why? Because what do property owners worry about most when they buy a roof? I remember those people in high school. I don't trust them. Who do I trust? Who do I know who to trust? Safest choice. What else do we do? Well, we help supportive contractors and distributors build their business and take hassles out of their business. Well, what's our vision? Well, we want to build a world-class building materials corporation based on a foundation of being the biggest and best roofing products manufacturer. And by the way, if you haven't heard of them yet, you might know Timberline brand, which is what it is at GAF. They already are in manufacturing the biggest maker of solar panels, which you haven't seen them yet, made in North America, even bigger than Elon Musk. He's going to run a little scared. And why choose us? And that was the key. We focus on the contractors. We're going to help. We're not trying to sell you product. We're going to help you what you need. We're going to help you generate leads because we're going to help do it more cost effectively. We're going to help you educate the client on the difference between what you're doing and other people are doing. We're going to help you add an advantage to make it easier to close a sale. We're going to help you build capability all through your company. And we're going to even help you save money on trucks and office supplies and all that. And that became our focus. And the more we help them with leads and educating clients and adding value and building capability and helping them save money, adding more profits and focusing on helping them communicate to end users, all of a sudden the brand started growing, right? So where and how? It comes from everywhere. So for example, signage in all buildings, reinforce the mission vision every time. Employee messages, it was on every check. Our vision, our mission and vision. Every PO that we paid vendors, it was there. Posted in all the offices, discussed in every meeting, and guided the why in all our decisions. And then the vision specifically, point is, everywhere in the journey they engage is an opportunity for trust to either be built or come away, an opportunity to differentiate yourself with value and separate yourself as an option. So, and we agree, values drives results. We believe the actions we commit. So beliefs drive values. Values drive your culture. Culture drives the experience not only within your company, but your employees and shareholders and suppliers. That experience drives the what's in it for me? Why should I continue with you? The experience I'm trying to avoid or gain, that action becomes your reality. I'm going to give you an example of implementing that with one of my clients. We said, we're going to define our values, and these are posted everywhere, and they guide all meetings and discussions. First, we had our behavior values. This is our, we call it GPS. I mean, we go off course, but we're going to recalibrate and get back on course. And these are things we commit to. We said, here's our process, how we do things. We committed to those. I'm suggesting do that branding, do that stuff. Map. What I start out is not what most companies do. Most companies start out with how do we do something? How does it affect the customer? I do the opposite. I map the customer's journey or the employee's journey or anyone who's got an option other than us. What stages are they going through? First, they need to become aware. In this case, call. You have a situation need. We confirm. We have the first visit. We have a second visit. This was in a home improvement company. We mapped that out and then said, okay, if that's what they're going through, how do we map what we do that communicates care, respect, trust, our strategic difference constantly? By the way, in summary, the power perception, try to predict this guy's future. Any idea what this guy ended up doing? Anyone have any guesses? Yeah, that's me in high school. Perception can be reality. Not exactly the best perception there, but it was fun. So in summary, you agreed at the beginning, tonight would be successful. You got insight, understanding why strategic branding, your best protection to prevent failure, and your most effective asset. Insights, critically important, the foundation. Perceptions shape your reality. Values builds trust. You got to define yourself, and that'll help drive awesome results. You're going to be asked for evaluations. To comment, you're going to receive an email, Barry, asking for your thoughts, and it'll be really appreciated. I hope you'll take a moment and complete those. There's my email. Any of you, if I can help in any way. I mean, I don't know if any of you remember the great runner Kip Keino, one of the first Africans to win gold medals. And I spent 4 years over in Africa building orphanages and schools with Kip. I always remember a key lesson Kip shared with me. Dave, you come into this world with nothing, and you're going to leave this world with nothing. Your only real value is how you leave your family, your friends, and your community behind. That's why those of us in SCORE do what we do. We want to try to make the world a little bit better because we were there. So it's been a privilege doing this with all of you today. I really mean it. I hope you'll fill out questionnaires. And if I can help you in any way, please email. Maybe we can do a Zoom call. Maybe we can do a phone call. And if you drop me an email now, I'll send you the PowerPoint version, right? I'll send you the PowerPoint version, but feel free to call. Barry, turn it back to you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Just to be clear, yes, the recording will be available, but it'll probably take until sometime tomorrow. I've given you a link in the chat window. I'll send out an email, but please don't go looking for it until maybe tomorrow. With that,
A little advertisement, Barry. Barry's got me scheduled basically for almost one a month coming up. So I hope you'll look for us on various different subjects. And again, it's a pleasure. Thanks. Drop me an email if I can send you the PowerPoint. Good night, everybody.
So Marta's asking for the email address. There it is, showing on that last slide up on the screen.
Right here, david.harrison@scorevolunteer.org.
Good. Well,
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
So if you send me an email, I'll respond and get it back to you. Thanks, everybody. And
Happy
Barry,
holidays.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for, people don't realize how much work behind the scenes. We get the credit for doing it. We couldn't do this without what you do. So thank you so much.
Most welcome. Good night, everyone.